The story of Indian immigration to the United States is often told as a modern success story, a tale of tech wizards, spelling bee champions, and CEOs. But long before Silicon Valley, tech visas, and boardrooms, this journey was shaped by exclusion, prejudice, and formidable legal barriers. This is the story of how a small, overlooked community endured rejection and in doing so, ended up reshaping American society itself. Our story begins in the late 19th century. The first wave of Indian arrivals were mostly sect laborers from the Punjab region. They were drawn across the Pacific by the promise of work in agriculture, on the railroads, and in the lumber mills along the West Coast. They arrived in a nation hungry for labor, but deeply unwelcoming of difference. At the time, American immigration laws were not just restrictive. They were explicitly racial. The prevailing view was that Asians were fundamentally unassimilable, forever foreign. Indian immigrants quickly discovered that the land of opportunity was also a land of hostility. They faced rampant discrimination, sporadic but brutal violence, and a web of legal exclusions designed to keep them on the margins. Anti-Asian riots, like the one in Bellingham, Washington in 1907, drove South Asian workers from their homes and jobs. Local laws sprung up, restricting where they could live, what kind of work they could do, and whether they could own land. The message from the establishment was clear. You are here to work, but you are not here to stay. You are not one of us. Yet in the face of this constant hostility, small communities began to take root, especially in the fertile valleys of California. These early immigrants, men who often left their families behind, built gurdwaras, or Sikh temples, which became the social and spiritual centers of their new lives. They pooled their resources, supported one another, and laid the foundation for a presence that would somehow survive even the harshest legal setbacks to come. The defining blow fell in 1923, a moment that would shatter the fragile foothold Indian immigrants had established. The U.S. Supreme Court, in a landmark case known as United States versus Bhagat Singh Thind, delivered a devastating verdict. Thind, a World War I veteran, argued that as a high-caste Indian, he was technically of Caucasian or Aryan ancestry, and therefore white under the law, making him eligible for naturalized citizenship. The court's logic was cruelly circular. It acknowledged the scientific argument but ruled that the common man, us, understanding of who was white did not include people from India. Therefore, Indians were not eligible for citizenship. The ruling was retroactive. In an instant, many Indian Americans who had already successfully naturalized were stripped of their citizenship. With that loss went their right to vote, to own property, and to feel secure in the country they had adopted. Almost overnight, the flow of Indian immigration to the United States collapsed. The door was slammed shut, and for decades, strict, racially motivated immigration quotas would keep it that way. The Indian American community, already small, became a tiny, marginalized group, largely invisible in the broader tapestry of national life. Their story didn't end, but it continued in whispers through a handful of students, religious leaders, and fragmented family connections. For nearly half a century, growth was all but impossible. Then, in 1965, everything changed. In the midst of the civil rights movement, a spirit of reform was sweeping the nation. President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Immigration and Nationality Act. This monumental piece of legislation abolished the old discriminatory race-based quota system. It replaced it with a new framework that prioritized family reunification and, crucially, professional skills. This single law transformed the story of Indian immigration more than any other event in American history. The floodgates didn't just open. They were blown off their hinges. A new kind of immigrant began arriving from India: doctors, engineers, scientists, and academics. They came not as laborers for farms and mills, but as professionals to staff hospitals, universities, and burgeoning tech firms. They filled critical gaps in the American economy, particularly in healthcare for underserved rural and urban areas, and provided the intellectual firepower for the coming technological revolution. These new arrivals did not simply assimilate. They became essential. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Indian Americans became deeply embedded in America's knowledge economy. You cannot tell the story of Silicon Valley without acknowledging the immense contributions of Indian engineers and entrepreneurs. You cannot discuss the expansion of medical access in America without recognizing the thousands of Indian doctors who made it their life's work. They contributed disproportionately to scientific research, business innovation, and academia. But success did not erase the struggle. The path was still strewn with obstacles. Immigrants faced grueling visa backlogs, labyrinthine H-1B restrictions, and the persistent challenge of navigating a new cultural landscape. Parents grappled with raising children caught between two worlds, balancing the preservation of their heritage with the pressures of American assimilation. The model minority myth emerged, a double-edged sword that celebrated success while obscuring the diversity of experience and the ongoing challenges within the community. Despite these complexities, the trajectory was undeniable. Today, Indian Americans are, by many metrics, among the most educated and economically successful immigrant groups in the United States. Their influence is felt everywhere, from the executive suites of Google and Microsoft to the halls of Congress, from the local hospital to the university research lab. Yet their remarkable achievements rest on the shoulders of those who came before, on the resilience of those early, Sikh pioneers who faced down mobs, on the quiet endurance of families who survived the legal darkness after 1923, and on the determination of the 1965 generation who seized an opportunity and remade it into a legacy. The history of Indian immigration to the United States is not a simple story of finding opportunity. It is a much richer, more complex narrative of exclusion, endurance, and ultimately, transformation. It reveals something profound about America itself, a nation that has repeatedly struggled with its own ideals, wrestling with the question of who is allowed to belong and under what conditions. Understanding this history reminds us that immigration is never just about borders, policies, or economic statistics. It is about people, it is about perseverance, and it is about the long, often difficult, but ultimately hopeful arc of inclusion. If you found this documentary insightful, please like the video. It helps our channel reach more people who value serious history. And be sure to subscribe for more in-depth documentaries on migration, identity, and the events that shaped our modern world. Thank you for watching.